So let's talk about that for just a second. As far as the gut, obviously, what are some symptoms and signs that hey, my gut is just completely out of whack, or there's microbial imbalance or maladaptation, or just you're not getting the nutrients that you need, and maybe some constipation? Or what is it that you're seeing that you're going, these are some signs and symptoms, you've got major gut issues, you need to do that 24-hour fast?
Well, probably the biggest one that I see are the SIBO patients, and those are the ones that get bloated after they eat. So SIBO is good or bad bacteria in the wrong part of your gut. It's in the small intestine, not necessarily in your large intestine. And so you eat anything fibrous and you're going to start to get bloated afterwards. So I've had great success with patients who have SIBO with the 24-hour fast. Candida. So like Candida is when your craving, your sugar and carb cravings are through the roof. There's a reason for that. There's a fungus that's living in your gut that wants you to feed it. So it gets you to feed it the carbs, and you just perceive it as cravings. Well, I don't know if you've ever done this. The longer you fast, one of the greatest tools I tell people to do is look at your tongue. Because if you go 24 hours or you're going into a 3 or 5 day water fast, is your tongue turning white? Is it yellow? Is it black? Those are signs that Candida is dying off. So, I think the parasites, I get asked a lot about parasites, and I think, it's a tool, but you definitely with parasites need more killers, more supplementation. But constipation, bloating, burning in the stomach, those are the kind of signs that you've got some dysbiosis. And then we go into deeper levels of even things like anxiety, depression, anything that you needed to have good bacteria to produce neurotransmitters for you. Those kind of things can also be gut related.
So what about diarrhea?
For sure, diarrhea. So here's interesting. I'm sure you see this, where the longer somebody fasts, they either get constipated or they will get diarrhea. Like it's a die-off of these bad bacteria. So for sure, diarrhea, constipation, those are also signs. Awesome.
Well, talk a little bit about dry fasting. I know that you had mentioned that. Yeah. What are the benefits of it? And I know that you said, hey, I like to contain dry fasting to a certain level. Talk about that.
Yeah. So there was an urban myth, is what I call it, in the fasting world, that dry fasting, 1 day of dry fasting gives you the same benefit as 3 days of a water fast. So people were like, well, that's incredible. Like, let me just go 1 day without food and water, and then I should be okay. I'll get the benefits of 3 days. And I haven't found the science behind that. So if you've heard of dry fasting to accelerate autophagy, accelerate stem cells, I have scoured the internet. There is no science behind that. Mm-hmm. Now, what we do see is two major things. People find they can get into a deeper ketosis. So without food or water, they can actually get into a deeper ketosis. Okay, so that's cool. And then we also know from the studies done on the Muslim community who do dry fasting during Ramadan, they've measured different chemical reactions that's happened in that community while they're dry fasting. And one of the biggest things is BDNF. BDNF will go up with as little as a 12-hour dry fast. And BDNF is like fertilizer for the brain, and it can stimulate serotonin production. So there's a lot of brain benefit to a dry fast. But we don't have any study on it going longer than 24 hours. And so there's these people out there that are going 3 days, 7 days. I mean, as far as what I was taught, if you go 3 days without water, your kidneys shut down. So it is really not smart to go longer than 24, and you're pretty good at 12. So if you don't want to go 24 dry fast, try 12. and you'll get that BDNF, you'll get the deeper ketosis, but be really smart about it.
Okay. And now give people an idea of what the fasting mimicking diet is with Dr. Walter Longo,
Yep.
and what that is and how they can incorporate that.
Okay, so Walter Longo, he's the one that really brought to our attention that a 3-day water fast will reboot the whole immune system, and you'll see old white blood cells get sloughed off and new ones will emerge. So out of his own study, he was like, oh my gosh, this is incredible, but not everybody's going to be able to do a 3-day water fast. So he came up with something called the fast mimicking diet. And the general parameters of it are you have to keep your calorie count under 800 calories. You got to keep your protein under 20 grams. He didn't manipulate or change the carb load. And then you have to get at least 60% of your food come from good fat. And he did that on people who had type 1 and type 2 diabetics. He did it 5 days in a row. And he did a 5-day period once a month for 3 months. On the 3rd month, what he saw is that these cells, or the pancreatic cells, were regenerating. So you would get stem cell production, and the pancreas was healing itself just from 5 days of this style of eating. So he has an incredible product called Prolon that you can actually follow the exact formula that he used. I always say to people, you can try to keep it under 800 calories and just keep your protein down. That's really good. But if you want the absolute result that he got, you would do Prolon, his pre-packaged food.
I don't know about you guys, but I am stressed. And if you're feeling overwhelmed this holiday season, then I get it. With all the family get-togethers, it is just a relentless source of stress. But anyway, there is something that I've got called Stress Guardian, and it's actually made by Bioptimizers, the people who make the magnesium breakthrough, which I love, love, love. But anyway, they are literally made this new product. It has 14 adaptogenic herbs, and it just regulates your stress. I just actually took some right this second, and it's awesome. If you go to stressguardian.com/wasteaway and put in waste away for 10% off your first order, it's stressguardian.com/wasteaway. Go there now.
So let's talk about the difference between, say, someone doing a 2-day fast and a 3-day fast. And it's interesting because on my podcast, I think I mentioned I do a lot of 2-day fast, like 48 hours. I do it very, very regularly. And I think the reason is because I've done 3-day fast, I've done 5-day fast, I've done 7-day, but 3 days, I almost feel like I'm like, oh my gosh. And I probably, because I've trained myself, like me doing a 24-hour fast is a breeze.
Right.
Me doing 48 hours is pretty, easy for me now because I've done so many of them. And it's funny because once I said that, I guess I've said it a couple times on my podcast, and now I feel like people have been kind of commenting in, and they're like, I feel the same way. Like, I feel like I could do 2 days really well, but I can't, do 3. 3 days is really hard. And I'm wondering in my mind, I'm like, man, I wonder if me saying that, it's like a mental block because I've now told them, hey, 2 days is easy, 3 days is harder. What do you think is happening there? And do you think it's just mental for the fact that I've said that now that I've gotten more people to say that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I love your thought process on this because there is this huge mental game to fasting. Mm-hmm. And you can talk yourself into any fast and you can talk yourself out of any fast. So you always want to ask yourself before you go into the fast, what am I trying to accomplish? Why am I doing this? So I believe for weight loss, 36 to 48 hours is awesome. Like if you want to unstick your weight, if you want to keep your weight down, I agree. You need to throw in some of these longer fasts because in that time period, you're telling your body, hey, no food's coming in. Go find what I stored years ago. Then go burn that. So that's a dream to somebody trying to lose weight. But if you want stem cell production, if you want to reboot the immune system, if you want to heal a musculoskeletal injury, it's just like the 1 meal a day. You've got to get to 72 hours. And at 72 hours, those stem cells are turned on. So if you're trying to heal, like I healed an Achilles tendon injury by doing a 5-day water fast. And my purpose was, let me switch on my stem cells and then let me hang in there to see how long it takes before my ankle heals or my tendon heals. And it was crazy. Like 5 days, boom, a 6-month Achilles tendon injury that stopped me from running was healed in a 5-day water fast.
Wow.
So it's really what you're trying to do. I have a patient right now with leukemia, and we've got him doing 72 hours every week. And we're seeing that his white blood cell counts are now normalizing after being incredibly high. So but if you're trying to lose weight, 36, 48, that's going to be your thing.
Awesome. I love that. Well, it has been an absolute blast. Just talking with you. Tell listeners any final thoughts on fasting where you said, like, here's some tips or tricks or anything to make it easier. I mean, doing a 3-day water fast is not easy any way you look at it, but any kind of tips that you found that kind of helped take you or any of your clients to the next level?
Yeah, I think there's 2 major things. One is when you understand what's happening, you become more in awe of the process than you feel like you're struggling or suffering. So that's why I love bringing the science and like talking about when things get turned on, so that if you're at 17 hours and you want to eat anything inside and chop everybody's head off, you can remind yourself why you're doing it. Oh, I'm detoxing right now. So understand what is happening in the body, the science behind it, and knowledge is power. It will become effortless. And then I believe do it in a community, get in an area where you can jump in and you can bitch if you want to bitch. You can call out to the community and say, I need help. I mean, that's what we see in our resetters is people will rally in and be like, you can do it, you can do it. So those 2 things become really important.
Now, when you aren't fasting, is there any foods that you just kind of say, okay, when you are in your eating window, that you say, these foods I kind of eliminate out of my diet? Or when you are eating, you're like, look, when I'm eating what I want?
Yeah. And there's a whole style to that. But I would say living here in America, you won't find me eating gluten. Now, if you put me in Italy where they don't spray it and they have heirloom seeds, I'll eat all the pasta I want. But here in America, the way our wheat is grown, I don't eat it. It's toxic to the body. I don't eat a lot of sugar as well. Same thing, a lot of GMOs in it. So I have my parameters. But I think the best mindset that I teach my patients is, remember, you have a fasting window and you'll have an eating window, and they're equally as important. So the quality of the food, if you decide you're going to fast and eat Doritos and drink Coca-Cola, your results obviously won't be the same. You're not getting as many of the health benefits. So the more you clean up your eating window, eat fresh foods, stay away from the processed foods, eat organic. Those kind of things are massively important in this day and age.
Awesome. Well, Dr. Mindy, tell everyone where they can find you and follow you. I love your website. It's absolutely beautiful, by the way.
Thank you. We just rolled out a new one. You can find me on my YouTube channel. I'm putting new videos out every week. All of them have a fasting twist on it. If you want to fast with us, you can join my Resetter group on Facebook. We're doing a live fasting event on January 11th here in San Jose, California. So we're just trying to create support for people so that they can really excel at this lifestyle.
I love it so much. Well, you've been a joy to talk to, and I know that the listeners got so much out of this. So if you want to follow her, you will really enjoy her website, drmindipelz.com. And thanks again for being with us.